Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar.
Hey guys, oh my goodness, I am super excited for another episode of Make Your Mark podcast, and I have an amazing guest for you. Her name is Ann, and she has more than 41 years of experience in business, marketing, and sales. With over 30 years as an entrepreneur, she has built 7 successful businesses, and guess what? She sold 5 of them. And now she's a current owner of 2 of these businesses that she has built and scaled, and has been coaching and consulting for the past 11 years and has worked with several hundred small business owners, consultants, coaches, and professional entrepreneurs in over 50 different types of businesses to further their success. Oh my goodness, guys, this is going to be a juicy episode, so hang on tight. Please welcome to the stage, Ann Carden. Oh my goodness,
Hello.
I'm so excited for you to be here.
Thank you, Kay. It is my honor and pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much.
No worries. Oh my goodness. So first of all, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I would love for you to share with the audience, a little bit about your background and your journey and how you got to this space and how you built 7 businesses and, how you managed to really get to where you are today.
Well, thank you. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. That's all I'm going to say. Episode is over.
Wait, you're telling me that it wasn't just like that and it all kind of
It was not instant. No, so it started, gosh, over 32 years ago when I left my corporate career. I was in corporate for 13 years. I was in business management. I had young kids and I realized I didn't want them to be raised by daycare. Right. And have you heard this story before, Kay? We had some technical issues. So. All right. I had to say that. Okay. So we made the decision that we were going to move back to the Midwest we were out West, and my husband gave back a company vehicle when we left and we moved back, and we also moved out into the country. So there was not a lot of opportunity. In fact, there was 0 opportunity really. And my husband was driving back and forth to the city every day. And we really could not squeeze one more dime out of his paycheck. And so we were financially struggling. It was really tough. I made everything from scratch, like I cooked from scratch. I remember even trying to buy something at the grocery store that I shouldn't have bought. And I remember how distraught I was over it because I was like, I should not have spent that $2.50. That's how tough it was. And so my kids were getting hand-me-downs from their cousins, clothes, and all of that kind of thing. But there was a turning point where my 4-year-old son needed shoes and we didn't have the money. And he didn't get the hand-me-downs from his cousins. And I did not know what I was going to do. And I literally sat down at my kitchen table and I cried. And I just prayed for a solution. I didn't know what to do. There was no opportunity. We had 1 vehicle. Everything that I did, I had to do on the weekends. So all my grocery shopping, all of those things had to be done on the weekends when my husband was home. So there was a little store in town and I was very crafty. I always loved to make things and be creative. And I had done a lot of things for my son's nursery when he was a baby. And so I had this box of stuff that was sort of left over from that. And I thought, I wonder if I can make some little things here and take them to the store and maybe make a little bit of extra money. So that was my goal, make a little bit of extra money to take the pressure off.
Yeah.
So I took things into the store. She was very gracious about putting them in there. But she said to me when I took them, okay, well, I'll be happy to put them in the store. I'm not sure if this is quite what people are looking for. Ooh. So I said, okay, great. Well, after 2 weeks, nothing sold.
Okay.
So I said to her, I did my market research. I said, what is selling? And she said, these rabbit dolls. And she showed me these cloth, fabric rabbit dolls. And I thought, I don't have any idea how to make a rabbit doll. Like I have no clue how. I don't even have a sewing machine. So I went and I looked at all kinds of patterns and I just got lots of ideas and I borrowed my mom's sewing machine and I set out to make a rabbit doll. Well, long story short, I made a couple of dolls. I took them in. She goes, oh my gosh. So I designed my own. I just designed my own because I had to come up with something.
Right.
Took them in and she said, oh, these are beautiful. They're going to sell.
Wow.
Well, they did. And from there, I ended up creating an entire line of dolls. They were signed, they were numbered.
Wow.
I employed several people, several other moms. I was able to help a lot of other families because I employed other moms. And I was basically running a manufacturing company out of my home.
Wow.
So I was shipping all over the world. And I did that because I advertised. I had to do things the old-fashioned way. I did not have a computer. I mean, we didn't have the internet or any of those things.
Right.
And so I had to advertise in international magazines, and I was shipping all over the world. I remember the day I got an order from Iceland. That was, now again, keep in mind, this was 32 years ago.
Right.
And I just thought, oh my gosh, I felt like I had just arrived in my business because I was like, I'm shipping all over. Like the UPS truck was coming to my house every single day and picking up orders. I was also in many, many craft stores across the country. So I was in a lot of different states. And so I was just consistently shipping out. And so that was global. And I did that for 7 years. And eventually I started creating, when the market started changing for finished dolls and finished work, I went into the designing piece of it and I started designing patterns, and I was working with a pattern company and they were selling my designs. So after about 7 years, I was just really tired of it. The market was changing. I saw where it was going, and I didn't love the pattern piece of it. I didn't mind the design work, but all the other stuff, it wasn't what I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
So it was time to move on. And so I sold all of my designs, and I had gained a lot of weight in the process. So my next thing was, okay, how do I get this weight off? I didn't even think about what's my next journey here.
Right.
I was very successful in that business, in that first business.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. So I thought, well, the only thing I really know to do is take better care of myself. And now by this point, my kids are in school, and I did all the mom things with school. And I knew I didn't really want to go back into the industry I had come from. And it wouldn't have been practical. I still would have had an hour drive and all of that. So I thought, I am just going to take better care of myself, and I'm going to work out and eat right, and did all that. And then I got in the best shape of my life. And I said, I think I want to help other moms. So I got certified as an instructor, a fitness instructor. Wow. And I started my second business because I decided I was going to teach fitness classes.
Amazing.
I had no idea where that was going to go, but I thought I'll rent this community hall and I'll ask moms if they want to take fitness classes with me. And I handed out flyers at a back to school barbecue, and I got my first clients. Well, long story short, that grew into 2 health clubs, 2 weight loss centers, and I was able to sell all of them, and it gave us financial freedom.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of years. I was in it for almost 20 years, but four of those businesses. And so through all of that, so building and selling 5 businesses from the ground up, I learned what it takes and what kind of a business would be attractive for people to want to buy. I went through all the selling process. So I really learned so much in all of those years as an entrepreneur. And I started discovering, as I talked to business owners that I knew from out there marketing, networking, building my own businesses, I started realizing I had acquired a lot of knowledge in business. And people started asking me, well, how did you sell? And how did you do this? And so it was, and I worked with a business coach in my last 2 businesses, and it was so impactful. And it was just so much value. And I had never worked with a coach before. And I thought, this is what I want to do. This is my next thing. So that was 13 years ago. So that was, a long time. But that is what brought me into my current business. And now I also have a media company. So my Expert in You is a brand, and I have my podcast. I'm still wanting to launch a new magazine in 2023. So that is on my list, but I have my podcast. I have all of my programs and everything. But we also help people get books done. We help them get expert books done. We help them get featured in magazines and in the media. So we've got that. But then I also have my coaching and consulting business where I work with clients to help them grow their business. So.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. It's been quite a journey for you then, you can say. Oh my
Just a little.
Right.
Just a little.
And so I have so many questions for you, right? You kind of jump from one thing to another and kind of dabbled in it and see if it worked. You didn't have really a plan, right? You just thought of an idea, thought, let's see how this goes, and just ran with it.
Yes. In the first two, I did that.
Right.
In the first two. After that, I had more of a plan.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Because you learned from those two businesses. And so I guess for our listeners who are thinking about starting a business or have ventured on their first business, right? What kind of advice would you give them, right? If they're at the very beginning stages to keep going, right? Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, you start a business because you want to make money and you want to be your own boss, right? And have that time back for yourself and your family. So what kind of advice would you give for that entrepreneur that's just starting out?
This is so easy because it literally is be committed and be serious. If you're going to be in business, be serious about being in business. Be serious about building your business. I see too many people that are playing business. I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but they really just treat it like a a whatever. They don't treat it like something that really deserves the commitment level. And so they're like half in. I guess that's what I'm really trying to say. They have one foot in and everything else out. And when they feel like it, they'll treat it like a business, but they don't really, there's no drive or commitment to really grow it. And if they do have that,
Mm-hmm.
then what I would say is keep going. Just you keep going. Keep working it and keep figuring it out. Or now we have mentors. I wish I would have had a me all those years. I can't even imagine, Kay, where I would be if I would have had the luxury of a business coach or a business consultant to help me. It just not make all the mistakes, the wasted money, not making as much as I could have. I mean, I was successful, but I could have been so much more successful even had I had a mentor or someone that could help me along the way. And it wasn't even until my last two businesses that I knew, and I didn't even really understand what she could do for me as a coach, because we just didn't have the exposure to it. So, but if you give it everything you've got and you don't give up, and you are able to shift or evolve with the business, I believe people can be successful at anything they put their mind to. I mean, I just really believe that anything they're willing to work hard at, they can be successful, because as an entrepreneur, you can always shift things. There's always going to be something that's going to, even when you are successful, there's always someone ready to take you down. There's always some other thing that's coming after you. Especially because 4 of those businesses, they were brick and mortar. So the first one wasn't. The first one was, global, but the other businesses were all brick and mortar. There was always a competitor. There was always something that was threatening the business. Well, I learned very early on, the only thing that can stop you is you, because if you put if you are willing to do different things and shift, you can keep that business going for many, many years.
Oh, absolutely. Now, one of the interesting things that I just picked up on what you said is that your first business was a digital business, right? It was
not digital. It wasn't digital.
Okay.
Because we didn't have that. But it wasn't a brick and mortar. So I didn't have a location where I had to go every day and open the doors. I was working out of my home. So it would be like a home-based business, but I was shipping all over the world.
So why would you shift from working in the comfort of your own home to then going into the brick and mortar business?
Well, it didn't start thinking like that. My idea was I want to help moms,
Yeah.
get in better shape. And so that's where it started. So it started in a community hall, and I was paying them to work out in their place for a few days a week. But then I got to the point where, wow, this is really going somewhere, and I'm doing fairly well here, and I want to be able to do more with this. And I can't do this in somebody else's building. So I started looking for my own location, and my first location was very, very small, but I made it work, and it worked really, really well. But then I created a program. I guess I could talk about this. I came up with an idea. Gosh, $39 memberships are not going to get me real far without a big club. I didn't have a big club. It was just fitness classes. That was it. So I already had studied nutrition and knew about nutrition.
Okay.
And so I came up with the idea. Now this is no big deal. Now you hear this everywhere, and it's the common thing. But back then it was not. I thought, I want to help these people get better results, but I also want to make more money. And I was coaching people on nutrition. I had a little office out of my house, and they were coming to my house, and I was coaching them on their nutrition. So that was one income stream I had. Then they worked out with me. I also did some personal training. So I had those things going, but I knew there was a better opportunity. So I thought, I am going to put my nutrition and my workout package together. And I'm going to run a 30-day program, which would now be considered like a boot camp. But I called it Body Blast. In fact, it was branded back then. And it was a 30-day. They came out and worked with me 5 mornings a week at 5 a.m. And that we did that for 30 days. We measured them. We tracked everything. Well, that program blew up. I had people traveling several miles and carpooling to my little bitty 1,200 square foot thing, because it was really a successful program. And I did that program. That program made me over $1 million. Just that one little program, not even all the other stuff. But I figured it up at one time because I hadn't really thought about it. I, ran it a few times a year, several times a year. And I didn't really stop and think about, because again, I didn't have all the exposure to the internet and all that. So we just didn't think like that in small business. It's like, you're just building a business, right? You're just trying to grow it. That was it. And I stopped and figured it up at one point, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that program made me over $1 million." And then I actually even repackaged it and sold it some more, sold it under a different name. So I don't even know what it really made me. But the thing that was really cool about that is it was also the thing that gave me, which is one of the things that I teach now in my business, is sell things that are high. Don't go after all of your low stuff, because that's where the real growth happens. And even like my Body Blast, that was $125 at the time. Eventually it got up to where it was like $200 or $250. But I learned that model very early on, because it was the thing that really gave me bigger cash injections. If I could put 50 people in a Body Blast, as my club grew and I was able to take on that many people, that was a huge cash injection into my business. For something that I was practically already doing anyway. So I learned that model very early on, that's where the opportunity is. And then eventually in one of my clubs, when that club grew, it grew into a 16,000 square foot club, had everything, an indoor track, it had a spa, it had everything, Pilates, it had daycare. It was a pretty good sized club. And then I added a weight loss center, a whole nother business. So it ran with a separate team of employees, everything. So when I had that whole model and everything going, I quickly realized, okay, I can't be the center of this business anymore. It has to, if I'm going to grow this. But we had a $12,000 membership, and that was several years ago.
Wow.
So that was unheard of. And we sold them. So
wait, what? Yes. I'm now interested. Wait, what does a $12,000 membership consist of?
So the $12,000 membership gave them the club. It gave them all the nutrition and private like personal coaching on the nutrition side. So we had a program in there that was a year-long program. So that was for nutrition, weight loss, all of that. So they would invest in that year-long program. And then we combined that with the gym. We gave them some personal training with that. And so it was a whole comprehensive package. But yes, it was 12 grand. That was so unheard of at that, several years ago. That just was mind blowing to people. But yes, I mean, we sold those. My club actually had the doctors, the lawyers, the people, the professionals, the people that had businesses that were successful.
Right.
We really had the upper market in my club. And that's why I could do a lot of those things. And even before I would launch a new program, I would get that program paid for. So if I wanted to go out, so when I decided to put in spinning and I wanted all the spin bikes paid for because I didn't want it to take the money out of the business,
right,
I sold the spin classes and made enough money to go buy the bikes.
Amazing.
And so then so being resourceful, I've always been very resourceful. How can I make this work? And so if I wouldn't have got enough interest or enough money to buy the spin bikes, I wouldn't have done it. So that was a way that I launched a lot of things without having to front all the money. So I got very creative in how I did things. And so that's why I mean, there's always a way. There's absolutely always a way to make something happen if you're really serious about making it happen. You just have to get off your rear and do something.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Wow. I feel like I can just listen to you all day long, Anne. Like, this is amazing.
Well, thank you.
No worries. And so we come to the part where we're going to do the Make Your Mark challenge, Anne. And so what this is I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds to name as many well-known companies, brands that have already made their mark in the world, right? Brands that we use every day in our businesses, in our homes. And it's a little bit of a contest. So the guest that has the most name brands in 30 seconds will actually receive a gift from me. Okay? And so we are going to start the clock. As soon as I say go, you start naming the different brands that you know.
Okay, I will do my best here.
just a little fun here. And then what happens is at the end of the season, which is 3 months, I will email every single guest, let them know what the scores were and who the winner is. And so let me make sure I get my notes up. And are you ready, Anne?
I am ready.
Yeah, all right, fantastic.
This should be interesting.
Okay, after 3. 1, 2, 3.
Nike, McDonald's, Apple, Toyota, Tesla, Lamborghini. Let me think of all the cars. IKEA. Oh my gosh. This is nerve-wracking. My brain is on overload today anyway. Let me think. Life is Good, Whirlpool, Mr. Coffee.
All right.
I'm looking around.
That's it. That's the end of 30 seconds. It's so funny because we know so many brands, right? But the minute you're being timed,
I know.
Everything goes out of your mind.
We're bombarded with it all day long. I mean, it's like brand overload. And yeah, I cannot think of any of them.
And I'm just going to count the scores. So just bear with me. 1, 2.
Well, I'm sure I'm not a winner on that one.
You got 10 though. That's actually really good. You got 10, right? So that is pretty good. And actually you named a lot of the brands that people haven't named in the past. Right? So that is cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining me and doing the Make Your Mark challenge. That's just a little bit of fun for all of us here, even our listeners. And so we're going to get back to the episode and carrying on with, how you built several successful businesses. And you did mention that, you've built 7 businesses, right? 2 that you sold 5, and you've had several different journeys and learning lessons, right, of all the different ones that you've built. And so at what point did you come to decide that, okay, I've built this business, I now want to sell it and move on to something else? How does that even come about?
That's a great question. When I first started that second business, I wasn't thinking like I wanted to sell it. But as I started growing that, and I actually moved, there were 5 locations before my last location. I kept expanding. So I kind of bootstrapped and kept growing. But when I got into my big club, I started realizing, okay, I would be able to sell this. And then we started thinking long-term, like, okay, this could be a retirement. This could be somewhat a retirement plan, because as you're an entrepreneur in your own business, a lot of times you don't have those things, right? You're not given all those benefits unless you take the time to actually do that. So that's really how I looked at it. So every investment I made back into the business, I knew was building sort of that retirement plan. And so that was really where I started. So that's where my mindset shifted. Now, how did I know when to sell? When I got to a place where I wasn't loving it anymore. I really felt, this is the kind of the strange thing. So when I opened my last 2 businesses, in a way, I almost went back to my roots, and I opened up a small training center that was high end for women. And then so we had a small training center, and then I also had the weight loss center, and it was an all women's club. And it was very much the way I had started. And the reason for that is because when I saw everything that it took to run a big club, and all the overhead and the people and trying to please everybody, and it just went on and on. I just didn't love it anymore. It was kind of like I felt like, even though it was very successful, I had to move myself out of the business so much that I don't know. I was just at a place where I just felt a bit burned out and just didn't love it. So I think that for me was sort of an eye opener. I got to where I really loved the newer businesses. And so I found that I was spending more time there, and I was letting my employees run the bigger businesses. And that was really when I thought, okay, you can't keep running all 4 of these. It was a bit much. Let me just tell you. They were an hour apart. So there was a lot of driving back and forth. Even though I had teams in place, I still had to be involved, right? So I think it was at that point that I realized I'm not loving this anymore. This is a great time to get out. And I had an opportunity first for a buyer. Actually, it came up a couple of times. I was contacted, people wanting to buy it. The first time didn't really pan out. I wasn't really quite ready to sell it. So that had been, maybe a couple of years before. But by the time the next opportunity came around and I saw what I could sell it for, I was like, I need to just do this. Yeah. So,
oh my goodness. It's so funny because people don't set out a business to then decide to sell it. Right? People kind of think, oh, I'm going to build this business. It's going to be a passion of mine. I'm going to build this legacy. It's going to be amazing. People are going to love it. I'm going to make so much money. It's going to be with me forever. Right? But no one talks about that you could lose passion for that business.
Yes.
Right?
We evolve as people, first of all. Yes. We evolve. And so so the passion that you start with, I think that's why a lot of people burn out, because they don't think about the bigger picture. Yeah. And eventually, like everything, we do get tired of things. We just get tired of things, right? Especially entrepreneurs. We are like that anyway. We're wired for change. We're wired for, to do things differently and always kind of be on to the next thing. And it wasn't like that. It wasn't the shiny object thing. It's just, as I evolved and as I grew as a person, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I felt like the reason I had started it was not the same reason I was keeping it, or
Right.
so it just wasn't the same. And when I opened the other two businesses, when I decided to sell those, I was already coaching people in their businesses. So I was actually fairly bored in those businesses, to be honest. I had my team in place. I wasn't doing a whole lot. It was a small club, it was the funny thing is it was making as much money as the other big club had been making, because we were high end. And so we didn't have to have all, as many people and all of that. But it was very successful. But I started coaching people, and I knew that was my next thing. And so that's when I made the decision. I don't want to be tied down with a brick and mortar business anymore. I want the freedom and the flexibility. I want to help other people, and everything I've learned and everything I've come to know. And so I had this passion to help other business owners, but I didn't want to be tied down to that type of a business. And I felt tied down. Even if you have teams running it and all of that, you still cannot completely remove yourself as a small business. If you're a large corporation or an investor, maybe, but as a small business, you can't. You still have to have your hands in things to a degree. And I don't know. It felt at that point like it was more of an anchor to the bigger opportunity that I felt like I had. So that was my reason for exiting that as well.
Oh, that's amazing. And also for our listeners, because now they know that it's okay if you lose passion in something and move on to something else, right? But again, like I was saying, no one actually talks about that part, right?
That's true.
So it's good to kind of have it out there and be like, look, if you want to move on to something else and build a different business, then go ahead and do so. But anything that you build, anything that you're doing, there's got to be a passion in there. And if it isn't, if it's died, it's time to move on.
Yes.
Right.
One other thing, Kay, that I just want to bring up with that is I have learned through the years, there's sort of this process. It's learn. So you learn something, then you do it. But then you come to a point where the real growth is about teaching what you've learned. So this is why I love helping people who have built this expertise to start coaching and consulting others with everything that they've learned and all of that knowledge and experience, because that is really a next level step in you as a person as you evolve. So it's so much fun to teach people everything that you've learned. So I feel like that is such a natural progression that maybe people don't necessarily think about, but your passion just changes. It just moves into something else. Yes.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And I wanted to ask you, as a business owner, right? And you're very successful. You've done so many different things. Why did you decide that podcasting, because you're also a podcast host, you don't just guest on podcasts, but why did you decide that this would be a great strategy for your business?
Well, it's a great strategy. First of all, there are a lot of ways to use a podcast. So I help people build authority brands and elevate their brands, as well as get premium clients. So a podcast is a way to help them do that and get them really positioned well in the market.
Absolutely.
But I teach my clients how to get clients through their podcast. And how to get strategic partners that can give them clients through their podcast. So we also use it as a lead generation strategy for both clients and partnerships. The other thing is, if you are wanting to speak or you're wanting to get on a stage or get on stages, all of those things, a podcast can be an open door to that. The other thing I love about it is sort of like networking online.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Yes, you get to build the best relationships with people. You get to know people in such a cool way. And they're just fun. I mean, here's what I say, Kay, you're creating your own stage.
Yep, that's right.
When you're on a podcast, if you love to speak, if you love to teach, if you love all of those things, a podcast allows you to create your own stage.
Definitely. And you know what else? I feel like And it's going to sound funny. When I tell people this, they're like, how is this possible? You can actually reach more people that you didn't even think you'd be having conversations with, right? A lot better, a lot more by doing podcasts, right? Because you have a global reach. You can reach everybody on the entire planet if you wish, and getting on enough podcasts and having your own podcast show, right? That I know people that have met like Jack Cranfield.
Right? I was just going to say, it brings, so there's always this, okay, this guru is up here, right? Yes. And I'm here. Yes. And what it does is it brings people to the same level.
Absolutely.
Like it brings us back to being human to human instead of you're up here and I'm down here, right? Yes. So it levels, it really, you have access to people that you maybe would have never had access to because you're shining a light on them. So you're helping them build their brand. Why would they not want to be on your show if it's something that they feel like would do what would really build their brand in the right way? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So that it wouldn't hurt their brand, but it would build their brand. And as long as you have a podcast that's like that, most people will say yes. I get very few. I'm trying to remember, have I even gotten any no's? Maybe one or two.
Everybody wants to get the promotion, right? And publicity. Yes. And, it's inexpensive. You're doing the comfort of your own home, right? It's the best method ever, right? But there is strategy behind it. And you got to get
there is
strategy, right?
Yes.
It's not just about getting those bookings and just talking and that's it. And so, well, thank you for that, Ann, and kind of encouraging people, business owners especially, to actually get on podcasts, start their own podcast. It's worked for you, it's worked for me and several other people. And so if you're not guesting on podcasts, if you don't have your own podcast, then it's time that you actually looked into this for your business. And it was such a pleasure speaking with you. But I know at this point, people are wondering, oh my goodness, I need to get in contact with Ann. How do I do that? So what's the best way for people to actually connect with you?
Well, you can go check out my podcast, Expert in You, but you can reach out to me. First of all, I'm all over online. You'll have no trouble. You can Google me, you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I have a robust YouTube channel. But if you want to book a call, if you want some help in your business, you want to grow your business, you want to become a coach or a consultant, that's what I help people do, is package all that genius up. You can book a call with me at acarden.com. So thank you so much for asking.
No worries. Thank you again. And guys, all the links, everything that we've mentioned, the resources will all be in the show notes below. So make sure you scroll down if you have missed it. Again, and thank you so much. So many golden nuggets. And oh my goodness, your story. Wow, wow, wow.
Well, thank you. It might sound more glamorous than it was. It always sounds better when we give the high level overview, right?
But it's amazing because that's how you learned so many skills and just got better and better and better, which is going to inspire others, motivate others. Just because things don't work out or you get bored, it's not the end of the world. You just move on.
That's right.
Right. So thanks once again, Ann.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.